So there are laws that we use to follow, to guide ourselves, to make our lives better. The last law that I spoke about was the beast inside. Now, every single person that you meet has a monster living inside of them, you can say. So there's an old folk tale where every single person you meet has two animals living inside them, a good one and a bad one. And the one that grows is the one that you feed the most. So every single person you meet technically has two sides. So there's a good and a bad side to everything. And there are different roles that we can take. These roles in Jungian psychology are called archetypes. Now, we fulfill different archetypes throughout our lives. We go in one and then weave into another every single day, multiple ones. So you never have just one, but there are some main ones, like the lover, for example. Without love, you really have nothing. If you look at a child who grows up neglected, it's better for that child to be abused than neglected, because at least he's getting some attention. But that's how powerful love is in our lives. It shapes us, it creates us. Without love, there's nothing, but you can take it too far. So that's the bad side. In Jungian psychology, is called the shadow. Now, the shadow of a lover is like a prostitute who just sells their love to everybody. So it's not worth anything anymore. It just becomes pretty much useless. Same thing with the warrior. Now, if you do not have the archetype of the warrior inside of you, you become weak. People walk all over you, they won't respect you, you become like a weakling. Can't fight for what's yours, can't stand up for yourself, you ain't got nothing. But if you take it too far, that's the shadow. So some people, they always want to fight. That's all they want to do. It's like they're so combative that you can't even have a normal conversation with these people. It's like all they want to do is fight. Everything for them is conflict. And that's the shadow of the warrior. And then there's the altruist. So I do a lot of service work in my church. I just came back today. We did a dinner for homeless people. But that's only once a week, maybe twice. I did prison ministries before. Twice a month I would go down to Monroe Penitentiary and we would minister to the prisoners. But there are some people who serve too much. They serve so much that while they're out about doing their altruistic endeavors, their family falls apart. It's because they serve so much that they neglected their own family. And that's the shadow. And then there's the orphan. So technically everybody dies alone. But that doesn't mean you have to live that way. So inside of everybody's heart is an orphan, somebody who's neglected and abandoned and abused, and that can give you power. It can give you strength because you know that in the end there are certain things that you have to do by yourself. But taken too far, you just become isolated. You start thinking that nobody loves you, nobody cares for you, nobody wants anything from you. And then that's the shadow. And then there's the ruler. The ruler is a very, very powerful archetype. I mean, we have to rule, we have to have control over our lives. We have to control over ourselves. It is said that it's easier to rule a city than to rule yourself. And that's because self-control is very, very difficult to obtain. But the altruistic, the archetype of the ruler is very powerful if you use it properly, because then you have control over your life, control over your business. But if taken too far, you become a tyrant. You're no longer the benevolent father figure, the ruler, but you're the monster, the tyrant that dominates everything, that has to control everything so much that it just crushes and just destroys and breaks everything. And then there's the fool. Technically, the fool is the beginning stage of the Savior. Because in the beginning, everybody's a fool. If you start a new career, a new endeavor that you've never tried before, what do you know about it? Of course you're going to be a fool. You're going to stumble from one failure to another. But those failures are how you learn. And then you can get to the other side. And the other side of the fool is the savior, so you become a hero. Now, there have been many heroes throughout history. Now, none of these heroes are perfect in every single way. I mean, one hero, for example, is Elijah from the Old Testament. Now, Elijah was a great prophet. And Israel was in a very, very tumultuous time in history. All the priests, most of them were killed. The country went astray and started worshiping Baal. And then the only prophet left, there were some prophets left, but the only one who was active was Elijah. And he was the only one who stood up and faced Jezebel. And he summoned all the priests of Baal and had a competition with them. So he's like, let's see whose God is real, yours or mine. So they took an altar and they all started piling water on it. And first they put wood, and then they started praying to their gods and started cutting themselves. And for hours and hours, they would just keep praying and chanting and asking for their god Baal to do something. And then Elijah just kept on laughing at them. He's like, put more water on it, put more water. And then nothing happened. And then he's like, move aside. And then he called up to God, the real God of heaven. And fire came down and consumed the altar. And then everybody knew whose God was real. And then he took a sword and he laid waste to 500 priests of Baal by himself. He took them all out single-handedly. So you can say this was a great warrior as well as a prophet, a great man. And then he went back about his business, and the queen Jezebel sent him a letter saying, I'm going to kill you, you're done. And he got so scared he ran away. He ran to the mountains, and he was there for like, I don't know, a couple weeks, couple months, until God had to like nudge him. He was like, you got to get going. So it's like you see this conflict of nature. On one side, he's a hero. He is courageous. He is strong. On the other side, he's scared. He is weak. He felt persecuted. So he's fighting one minute, the next he's running. And it's like, which one are you? What's both? Because no person is just one thing. I've shared, every single human being has a dual nature. You can create or you can destroy. You can help or you can hurt. You can heal or you can cause pain. There's always a dual nature. There's always two sides. There's a good side and a bad side to everything that you do. I mean, look at my life. I wasn't always the way that I am now. When I was 19, I remember when I graduated, when I was in high school, I wanted to become a psychiatrist for kids who were abused and who were traumatized. And then I went to community college to start learning about psychology. And I was running business, doing all the construction side of things with my dad. And then I also had another business on the side where I was selling energy drinks and these power bars in the community college, and started making some money. I had a bright future, you can say. And then when I was 21 years old, I remember I used to go visit my nephews every single day. And not every day, but when I was working in Kirkland for about a couple weeks, I would come and visit them and play with them, and they were good little kids. And then one day, I got off of work early, and I pulled up to the street, and I was like thinking to myself, nah, it's only 10 o'clock, it's too early, I'm gonna go home and eat lunch. Then I'll come back and see them. So I came home, I was in the bathroom, my dad started banging on the door, and he's like, there's something wrong with Olga's house. We need to go there right now. And then so I was like, I thought maybe something, septic tank overflowed again. So I hopped in my car, drove there, and then when I got to the street, the whole street was blocked off. There was ambulances, fire trucks, police officers, the whole street was blocked. I was like, what the hell? So I stopped and I got out and I started running. I started running. And I got to the house and there was nothing there. It was burnt down. Apparently the neighbor came in and just killed everybody. He killed my nephews and my brother's wife and her sister. And then he burnt the house down. And I remember just being in front of the house like, where are my nephews? And it was just, I was devastated. I went into shock. A bunch of cops had to restrain me. They took me into the ambulance. They had to put a mask over me because I went completely insane. And the next 5 years were very dark. The next year, I was pretty much homeless for that whole year. And then I remember I had a little bit of a problem, but I started using Oxycontin really, really hard. And then they stopped making oxys and heroin came out and I became a heroin addict. And then I died like 3-4 times in 1 year. And then it was just dark. I mean, from 21 to 25, 26, I was in jail like 40 times. I spent at least a year and a half of my life in jail. And then finally I went to rehab. And I was so sick when I went to rehab because I was withdrawing from pure heroin. without going to detox. I was there and I was suffering so bad. I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks. I remember one night it got so bad, I went downstairs and I was like, that's it, I'm done. I can't live like this anymore. I was going to hang myself. And then I went and I found like an extension cord because the pain was so bad. I just couldn't sleep. I was shaking. I've been withdrawn many times before from Oxycontin in jail, but never like this. This is, you take the worst day of, even when I was smoking 3, 4, 80 milligrams Oxycontin every day, and then we got arrested and I was in jail for 2 weeks. That was bad. But this is like times that by like 1,000. I'm not even kidding. I went insane. But after 3 weeks, I started getting better. I remember I went downstairs and it was my 26th birthday and I slept the night before, like a good night finally for the first time. And then I ate a cupcake and I went into the gym and I started working out again. And I could barely bench press 65 pounds. I was so weak. I mean, I could take my hand and wrap it around my bicep. I mean, I weighed 105 pounds when I went in there. But when I left 3 months later, I was doing much better. And that's when the journey began for me. It's like a journey of pretty much hell, but a journey of life. And it's like I think about these things, it's almost about talking about a different person because that's not who I am anymore. But that journey made me who I am. And it's like it goes up and down. It's like a mountain. You know, one time you're in a valley, the next you're in a peak, you go up, you go down, you're all over the place, and that's life. And as a conclusion, you know, this is the journey we all have to take. A hero's journey. It might not sound very heroic, but it is. Because most of the people I know who've been through these things are either dead or in prison or completely insane. You know, they don't make it to the other side. They don't really change. And I'm trying to change. I've been at it for 10 years. You know, every day is a struggle, but, you know, every day I continue. That's all I have. Thank you.